Saturday, October 8th, 1955, Macklin Field in East Lansing, Michigan is the scene of the gridiron contest between the visiting Stanford Indians and the host Michigan State Spartans. The first kickoff by Tony Mosic is out of bounds. Mosic kicking over. This time it's taken by Walt Kowalczyk on the state 18-yard line. He returns to the 30, the 34-yard line before he's stopped by Paul Camara of the Indians, and the Spartans have a 1st and 10 on their own 34. Earl Morrell calling signals from the tee. The Spartans shift into a single wing to the right with Clarence Peaks, the left half at the tailback spot. He takes off around right end. He's at the 35, across the 35-yard line to the 36. A gain of 2 yards. He was tackled by Jerry Beatty. 2nd and 8 for the Spartans on their own 36. Morrell calling signals, this time working from the tee. Fakes a handoff, rolls out to the right. He throws, then it's completed to end Dave Kaiser on the Michigan State 47-yard line for a 1st down. 1st and 10 for the Spartans on their own 47. From the tee, Kowalczyk takes the pitch out, circles left end. He evades one tackler and is finally knocked down just across the midfield stripe. But Michigan State is penalized for offside, moving the ball back to their own 42-yard line, where it's 1st down now and 15 to go. 1st and 15 for the Spartans on their own 42. The handoff to Clarence Peak through the middle. He goes to the state 47-yard line, a pickup of 5 yards on the play before he's tackled by Paul Camara. And it's 2nd and 10 for the Spartans on their 47. It's Peaks with the ball, number 26. He finds a hole at right tackle across the 50-yard line to the Stanford 45. A gain of 8 yards. So now it's 3rd down and 2 to go on the Stanford 45. Spartans ball. Planutis up the middle, and a big fullback gains 3 yards, enough for a 1st down before he's stopped by Bob Long and Gus Gustafson. So it's a 1st down for Michigan State on the Stanford 42. Morrell at quarterback. Takes a pitch out and a handoff. Decides to run himself. He's hit and fumbles. The fumble recovered by the Spartans, though, by Walt Kowalczyk. No gain on the play, so it's 2nd and 10 on the Stanford 42. Morrell rolling out to the right, fakes a handoff again. Looks for a receiver, doesn't find one. Finally throws. Complete to Dave Kaiser on the Stanford 15. He goes to the Indian 6 for a 1st down, a gain of 36 yards on the play. He was finally stopped by Ernie Dorn and Gus Gustafson. 1st and 10 on the Stanford 6 for the Spartans. This time they shift to the right in a single wing. Peaks in the tailback spot, gets the ball on a power play over tackle. And he carries down to the Stanford 1-yard line. 5 yards on the play. 2nd and goal to go for the Spartans on the Indians' 1-yard line. Spartans starting from the tee again. From the tee, it's Planutis on a handoff going over center for the touchdown. And the score is Michigan State 6, Stanford nothing. Planutis will attempt the extra point. His kick. No good. It's wide, and the score remains Michigan State 6, Stanford nothing. Dave Kaiser kicking off for the Spartans. Gets away a good boot going down to the Stanford 9-yard line where it's taken by Ernie Dorn. He's back to the 10. Crosses the 15, the 20, the 25, the 30, the 35. And knocked out of bounds just short of the 40-yard line on the Stanford 38. Return of 29 yards by Ernie Dorn. 1st and 10 for the Indians on their own 38. Gustafson at quarterback, Carr at full. And it's Dorn, number 42. Dorn carrying around left end for a 9-yard gain. And it's 2nd and 1 for the Indians on their 47. Second down, 1 yard to go for a 1st down. Gustafson at quarterback. Hands off to Tarr. Tarr doesn't find a hole. He doesn't make any yardage. He's stopped by tackle Norm Masters of the Spartans on the 47-yard line, so it's 3rd down and 1 to go. From the split tee, Tarr at fullback, Dorn, the halfback. Gustafson pitches out to Tarr. Tarr finally knocked down and loses the ball across the midfield stripe, and is recovered by fullback Panudis of the Spartans. And Michigan State takes over with the 1st and 10 at midfield. We're out at quarterback, number 26. He throws. And it's taken at the 30 by John Lewis. And he's going all the way. Chased by Gustafson, but Gus couldn't catch him. And it's another TD on a 50-yard touchdown play from Morrell to Lewis. And 6 more points for the Michigan State Spartans. They're out in front 12-0 now, as Panudis will again try the extra point. And it's good this time. And the score is Michigan State 13, Stanford nothing. And the Spartans are really fired up today after losing the close one to the University of Michigan on last Saturday. And Dave Kaiser, number 89, kicking off. Another good boot going down to the Stanford 7-yard line. Tarr takes it on the 7. He's at the 15, the 20, the 25, and snowed under by Joe Batichewski and Dave Kaiser at that point. 1st and 10 for the Indians on their own 25. McMillan now in at halfback for Stanford. He takes the ball over the left side. He finds a big hole. He's at the 35, the Stanford 37-yard line. 12 yards by Jerry McMillan the first time he carries the ball, and it's a 1st down for the Indians. They have the ball on their 37-yard line. Gustafson at quarterback, Tarr at fullback. Dorn, number 42, at the other half. The ball goes to Tarr over the middle. He's stopped by Arch Matsos at the 37. No gain on the play. It's 2nd and 10 on the Stanford 37-yard line. Gustafson with the ball. He tries to lateral. He's hit as he attempts the pass. And he's fumbles, is recovered by Carl Nystrom on the Stanford 40. Gustafson was hit by Norm Masters, and State takes over with the 1st and 10 on their own 40. Ball goes to Peaks. He's hit at the line of scrimmage by Chris Marshall. Give him a yard on the play. It's 2nd and 9 now for the Spartans on the Stanford 39-yard line. It's Peaks with the ball again over the right side of his line. This time he carries to the Stanford 36, a gain of 3 yards on the play. It's 3rd and 6 for Michigan State on the Stanford 36-yard line. And off goes pitch out brother to Kowalczyk. Going around his end. He evades one tackler but is knocked down just inside the 30-yard line. Jerry McMillan making the stop. 7 yards for Kowalczyk and a 1st down for Michigan State on the Stanford 29. This time it's Kowalczyk with the ball again. Going through the middle of the line, Camara and John Stewart finally put the stop on him at the 26-yard line after he's picked up 3 yards. It's 2nd and 7 for the Spartans on the Stanford 26. Single wing to the right. On the buck lateral play, and the pitch out goes to Speak. He's around the right side, but only for a yard to the 25-yard line. So now it's 3rd and 6 for Michigan State on the Indians' 25-yard line. Again, they shift to the right. Peaks back with Panudis. Panudis with the ball on the straight ahead plunge. And he really goes for 9 yards before he's tackled by Bill Tarr, and a 1st down for Michigan State on the Stanford 16. From the tee this time, it's Peaks with the ball again. And again, he's going for good yardage down to the Stanford 5-yard line. 11 yards before he's tackled by Gus Gustafson. And another 1st down for the Spartans. Now they're on the 5-yard line and goal to go. Peaks again with the ball, number 26. He dives over right guard. Down to the 3-yard line. 2 yards on the play. Second and goal to go now on the Stanford 3-yard line for Michigan State. Hand off to Walt Kowalczyk this time. No gain as he stopped there by the right side of the Stanford line, bringing up a third down and 3 yards to go for the touchdown. Morale number 21 at quarterback. From the tee. And he sneaks into the end zone for another Michigan State touchdown. Score 19-0 in favor of the Spartans. Panutis attempting the extra point. And the big fullback splits the uprights for another point for Michigan State. And the score, the Spartans 20, the Stanford Indians nothing. Dave Kaiser again doing the kicking off for Michigan State. And again, he gets away a good kick going down to the Stanford 9-yard line where it's taken by Jerry McMillan. He's at the 15. Now the 20, the 25, the 30. Across the 30 to the Stanford 34. 25-yard return by Jerry McMillan. Stanford has a first down now on their own 34. Gustafson at quarterback. Gives to McMillan. McMillan gains only 2 yards before he's tackled by Joe Carruthers and Pat Burke of the Spartans. So it's 2nd and 8 on the Stanford 36. Gustafson rolling out to the right. Will he run or will he throw? He throws. Intended for Jerry Beatty at the 40-yard line. Incomplete, broken up by Don Gilbert. That brings up the third down and 8 to go on the Stanford 41-yard line. Hand off to Tarr. He's picking his way up the field and he's going across the 45-yard line, the state 45-yard line, 19 yards for the first down before he's stopped by Gary Lowe. So as we start the second quarter and the teams change ends, Stanford has a 1st and 10 on the Spartans 45. Handoff goes to McMillan. McMillan finds a hole over the left side. Before he's stopped by Joe Batichewski, he carries to the Spartan 39-yard line. 6 yards on the play. It's 2nd and 4 on the Michigan State 39. It's McMillan again through the middle. Embry Robinson stops him at the 37-yard line. Only 2 yards on the play, making it 3rd down and 2 to go for a first down on the Michigan State 37. Again, Gustafson gives to McMillan, and this time he doesn't make as much yardage, only a yard before Carl Nystrom makes his stop, so it's 4th and 1 on the Michigan State 36. Harrington at fullback. He's with the ball. He hits the middle of the line. He fumbles. And Clarence Peaks recovers the fumble on the Spartans 29. And the Stanford drive is halted as the Spartans take over with the first down on their own 29-yard line. Rel calling signals from the tee. They work from the tee. The pitch out goes to Planutis, wide around his left end. And look at that fella go. He's hard to bring down. He goes to the, well, he makes 9 yards, almost to the 40-yard line. So it's 2nd and 1 on the, call it the 40-yard line. Morrell fakes a handoff, pitches out to Clarence Peaks. Peaks eludes a tackler, almost falls, regains his composure, and is finally hauled down inside the Stanford 40-yard line on the Stanford 38 by Jerry Ango. And it's 1st and 10 for the Spartans on the Stanford 38-yard line. Morrell fakes a handoff, hides the ball, decides to run with it. And he gains 6 yards to the Stanford 32-yard line, making it 2nd down and 4 for the Spartans on the Indians 32. Shifting into the single wing, Peaks and Planutis back. Planutis with the ball up the middle. But he runs into a stone wall of Stanford Indians. And the biggest stone was Ike Isaacs, who made the stop after a gain of 1 yard by Planutis. So it's 3rd and 3 on the Stanford 31. Notice again on the same play, right up the middle. And this time he makes good yardage before Jerry Angove stops him on the Stanford 24, 8 yards and a first down. Spartans ball, 1st and 10 on the Stanford 24. And they take too much time getting the ball away. 5-yard penalty for that infraction. And it's 1st and 15 now on the Stanford 29. Fake pitch out, a handoff to Kowalczyk, number 14 on the cross buck. He gains 4 yards to the Stanford 25. 2nd down, 11 to go on the Stanford 25. Fake handoff, the pitch out to Kowalczyk, going around left end. He's across the 20. The 15, and knocked out of bounds on the 13 by Gus Gustafson. 12 yards by Kowalczyk and a first down on the Stanford 13. Peaks with the ball, number 26 over right tackle. He's down to the Stanford 8. 5 yards by Peaks. 2nd and 5 on the Stanford 8. And the Spartan is overeager, jumps offside, and Michigan State is penalized 5 yards back to the Stanford 12. But it'll be 2nd down and 10 yards to go for a first down. Pitch out goes to Peaks, number 26. There he goes into the end zone for another Michigan State TD. And the Spartans lead 26-0. Jerry Planutis will attempt the extra point. The kick is blocked by Marshall, number 75 of the Indians, and the score remains Michigan State 26, Stanford nothing. Dave Kaiser kicking off for the Spartans. Ball is taken just about the 5-yard line. Back to the 20, 25, Carr with the ball. And knocked down on the 28-yard line. Spartans penalized on the play, and here's the second kick. Camara takes it this time on the 20-yard line. He's at the 25, across the 30. Hit it to 35, and down he goes on the 38-yard line. Stanford's ball, 1st and 10 on their own 38. Gustafson at quarterback. Pitches out to Carr. Carr's at the 40. 45. The 50. And down to the Michigan State 45-yard line. A fine run by Bill Tarr. 17 yards on the play and a first down on the Spartans 45. Dorr, number 42 with the ball. He finds a hole up the middle of the line. And he goes for 9 yards down to the Michigan State 36-yard line, where it's 2nd down, 1 to go for the Indians. The give is to Tarr, number 30, over right tackle. And he makes enough for a first down, 5 yards to the 31-yard line of Michigan State. Indians ball, 1st and 10 on Michigan State's 31-yard line. Gustafson gives to Dorr, number 42. He wiggles for 2 yards to the Spartan 29-yard line. So it's 2nd and 8 for the Indians on the 29. Gustafson with the ball. He jumps, he throws, finds Camara inside the 25-yard line. He's tackled by Gary Lowe, and the officials say it's just about on the 25, so it's 3rd and 2 for the Indians. Gustafson again fakes a jump pass, throws a longer one. Intended for Camara, but incomplete in the end zone. That bringing up a 4th down and 2 to go. Gustafson throwing. Pass almost intercepted by Dale Hollern, but it's incomplete. Nevertheless, the Spartans take over with a first down on their own 24-yard line. Pat Wilson with the ball, fakes a pass, decides to run. Eludes 2 tacklers, another across the 35 and out of bounds on the 37. But it's a gain of 13 yards on the play and enough for a first down. 1st and 10. on the Spartans 37. Fullback Gary Lowe at left guard. He carries to the 40-yard line, 3 yards on the play. 2nd and 7 for the Spartans on their own 40. 42, Gilbert, the fullback, with the ball right up the middle. And he's not stopped until he gains 5 yards to the Michigan State 45. 3rd and 2 for the Spartans on their own 45. Jerry Musetti with the ball. And he's getting away for a good yardage. But it's all to be nullified by a penalty, a clipping penalty, which moves the ball back to the Spartans' 34-yard line, where it's 3rd down and 14 to go. Single wing to the right with Peaks back. Fakes a quick kick. Hands the ball to Jim Wolf, who circles left end. And he's across the 45, almost to the midfield stripe before Paul Camara brings him down on the Michigan State 48-yard line. It's a 1st down on the 48. And again, Michigan State offside on the play. So it's 1st and 15 now, back on their own 43. 1st down, 15 yards to go on the Spartans 43. And a fumble just inside the 30-yard line, but out of bounds. The Spartans were penalized for illegal use of the hands, so the whole play is nullified. 15-yard penalty, and it's 1st and 28 now, back on the Michigan State 32. Pat Wilson, number 24 at quarterback, fakes a handout, rolls out to his left. He's brought down by Paul Wiggin for a loss of 10 yards back on the 22, and now it's 2nd down and 38 yards to go for Michigan State on their 22-yard line. Wilson at quarterback. Number 24 looking for a receiver. He throws. And it's incomplete to Jim Hensley, broken up by Jack Douglas, number 10 of the Indians. Now it's 3rd and 38 on the Spartan 22. Single wing to the right. Earl Morrell at quarterback, going back for a quick kick. And he gets away a beauty. It's rolling, rolling. A real good bounce for the Michigan State Spartans, rolling almost to the 5-yard line. Dead on the Stanford 7-yard line. 71 yards on that quick kick by Earl Morrell. Indians ball, 1st and 10 on their own 7-yard line. Harrington with the ball. Making good yardage. And he fumbles as he's hit by Dale Holleran. But Earl Morrell recovers for Michigan State on the Stanford 25, and again the Spartans have the ball. Don Gilbert, the fullback, going through the middle of the line to the 21-yard line. A pickup of 4 yards on the play. 2nd and 6 on the Stanford 21. Bill Kye this time with the ball. He picks up 3 yards to the Stanford 18-yard line. 3rd down and 3 to go for Michigan State on the Indians' 18-yard line. Bill Kye up the middle. To make a 1st down, though it's inches short. So Jim Nowosky sneaks for the 1st down to the Stanford 15-yard line on a 4th down. 1st and 10 on the 15. Jim Nowosky pitches out to Bill Kye, fumbles, and it's recovered by Jerry Ango for the Indians on the Stanford 22-yard line. Gustafson at quarterback. No, now it's Douglas, number 10 at quarterback. He passes incomplete, almost hauled in, but it's 2nd and 10 now on the Stanford 22. Douglas gives to Harrington. Look at the fellow ramble. Al Harrington goes 15 yards to the Stanford 37 on a 1st down. Douglas pass intercepted by Jim Wolf. And he's finally knocked out of bounds on the Stanford 32-yard line. 1st and 10 again for the State on the 32-yard line. Too much time taken on the play by the Spartans. And they're penalized 5 yards back to their own, to the Indians' 37-yard line. For it's 2nd down and 15. And that play ends the 1st half with a score: Michigan State 26, Stanford nothing. And the two teams file off the field in intermission, with the score a surprising Michigan State 26, Stanford nothing. Starting the second half, the Spartans kicking off to Stanford. Dave Kaiser doing the kicking. His boot goes down to the 10-yard line, which is taken by Bill Tarr. Tarr has little opportunity to run, and he's knocked down by Carl Nystrom on the Stanford 14. First down, 10 to go on the Stanford 14. Hand off to Dorn. Dorn is met right at the line of scrimmage and gains only a yard out to the 15-yard line, so it's 2nd and 9 for the Indians on their own 15. Gustafson rolling out to the right. He throws. Pass intended for Camara, but it's too long, incomplete. 3rd and 9 now on the Stanford 50. Gustafson going back to pass again. And it's incomplete, bringing up a 4th down for the Indians on their 15-yard line. Harrington back in punt formation. Kicking from the 5. Peaks number 26, fumbling the ball, but it's recovered by Walt Kowalczyk on the Michigan State 34. 1st and 10 for the Spartans on their 34. Kowalczyk with the ball, number 14. And he rolls for 10 yards until Paul Camara stops him on the Michigan State 44. A 1st down for the Spartans on their 44-yard line. Morale hands to Peak. And number 26 is tackled by Paul Wiggin at the 45-yard line for a gain of 1 yard, bringing up a 2nd down with 9 to go on the Michigan State 45. Single wing to the right. Kowalczyk on the reverse, number 14. But Camara and Young are not fooled, and they bring him down for a loss of 2 yards back on the Michigan State 43-yard line. 3rd down and 11 to go. Morale going back to pass. And it's complete to him, John Lewis on the 42. And he's going for extra yardage, 20 more yards down to the Stanford 22-yard line. A gain of 35 yards on the play. 1st and 10 on the Stanford 22. Peaks with the ball, number 26. He barrels his way for 6 yards before Mosic stops him on the Stanford 16. 2nd down, 4 yards to go on the Indian 16-yard line. Pitch out to Kowalczyk, number 14. And he's making more valuable yardage, going all the way to the Stanford 7. For another 1st down on the Stanford 7-yard line. Single wing to the right with Panudis and Peak back. Panudis with the ball, the fullback going right up the middle. 4 yards to the Stanford 3. 2nd down, goal to go on the Stanford 3-yard line. Peak number 26 dives into the end zone for another Michigan State touchdown. Score, Michigan State 32, Stanford nothing. And the Michigan State Spartans are really hot today. Mad after the loss to Michigan last week. Panudis will attempt the extra point again. And it's Marshall barreling in to block the kick. And the score remains Michigan State 32, Stanford nothing. This time it's John Matsko kicking off for Michigan State. His boot goes down to the 5-yard line, taken by Gordy Young. He's back to the 10. And running across the field, hauled down on the 14-yard line of the Indians. 1st and 10 for the Indians on their 14. Brody at quarterback, number 12, pitches out to Tarr. Tarr around right end, and he's got running room. He's at the 20, the 25. Across the 25 to the Stanford 27. A gain of 13 yards by Bill Tarr. 1st down on the 27-yard line for the Indians. Pitch out goes to Camara. This time he goes around the other end. Gets a couple of good blocks. He moves one tackle to another. He's at the 40, the 45. Across midfield to the Michigan State 45 and down on the Michigan State 41. 42 yards by Paul Camara. Gary Lowe finally making the stop. 1st and 10 on the Michigan State 41. Handoff goes to Young up the middle. He gains 5 yards to the Michigan State 36. 2nd down, 5 yards to go for a 1st down on the Spartan 36-yard line. Pitch out goes to Gordy Young. Young is hauled down by Joe Jones back on the 42-yard line, a loss of 5 yards, so it's 3rd and 10. on the Michigan State 42. Brody, number 12 at quarterback, throws, finds John Stewart, number 84. Stewart is gang tackled. Dale Holland making the initial tackle. 8 yards on the play, so it's fourth down and 2 to go on the 34. Tarr with the ball again, and the big fullback is barreling for yardage, carrying Michigan State tacklers with him down to the Michigan State 22-yard line. 12 yards and a first down on the 22. Brody pitches out to Tarr. And again, Bill is making yardage across the 20 to the Michigan State 18-yard line. 4 yards by Tarr, and it's 2nd and 6 for the Indians on the Michigan State 18-yard line. From the split tee, Brody going back to pass. He's rushed. Gets away. He throws. Intended for Kamara, but it's incomplete. That brings up a third down. Still 6 to go on the Michigan State 18. Brody going back to throw again. Intended for John Stewart, but it's overthrown, incomplete. So it's 4th down, 6 to go on the Michigan State 18. Brody back to pass, but he never gets the ball away. He's smeared by Joe Jones and Adam Szymanski. For a 12-yard loss, Michigan State takes over on the 30-yard line, their own 30. Number 47, Jerry Musetti with the ball. Got good blockers out in front of him. And Brody finally brings him down after a 12-yard gain to the Michigan State 42. A first down for the Spartans on their 42. Pat Wilson in at quarterback. Goes up the middle on the quarterback sneak for 3 yards to the Michigan State 45-yard line. So it's 2nd down and 7 for the Spartans on their own 45-yard line. On this play, carrying about 3 yards to the 48-yard line, Michigan State was penalized for illegal use of the hands, and the penalty puts the ball back on the Spartans' 30-yard line, where it's 2nd down and 20 to go. Wilson faking the handoff, going back to pass. And he hitches in Bob Jewett on the 44-yard line. He's across the 50 to the Stanford 45. Gordy Young bringing him down after a gain of 25 yards and a first down for Michigan State on the Stanford 45. Wilson tossing a screen pass out to Don Gilbert. Paul Kamara breaks through the screen to down him for a 5-yard loss on the 50-yard line. So it's 2nd and 15 for the Spartans at midfield. Wilson faking the handoff, goes back to pass, then decides to run. And he carries to the Stanford 43-yard line. 7 yards on the play by Wilson, making it 3rd and 8 for the Spartans on the Stanford 43. Wilson rolling out to the left, can't find anybody open, decides to run. But he makes only a yard to the Stanford 42-yard line. Bring up a 4th and 7 for Michigan State on the Indians' 42. And again, the Spartans take too much time getting the ball in play. The penalty moves the ball back to the Stanford 47, where it's 4th and 12. Dave Kaiser back in punt formation for Michigan State. Gets away a good boot going down to the Stanford 15-yard line. Jerry Van Galder fumbles on the 15, but he recovers on the Stanford 18-yard line. So the Indians have the ball on their own 18, 1st and 10. Brody gives to Tarr. Tarr going for good yardage to the 23-yard line. 5 yards by Bill Tarr. Making it 2nd down and 5 to go for the Indians on their 23. Brody pitches out to Kamara, number 32. Kamara goes for a first down to the Stanford 32-yard line. 9 yards by Kamara. 1st and 10 for the Indians on their 32. Handoff goes to Tarr, number 30, and he's dragged down by Dale Hollern for a loss of 1 yard as the 3rd quarter ends with the score, Michigan State 32, Stanford nothing. Starting the 4th and final quarter, the Indians have a 2nd down, 12 yards to go on their own 30-yard line. Brody at quarterback. Gives to Camara on the reverse. Camara bobbles the ball. Almost brought down from behind. Finally is hauled down for a loss of 3 yards by Dave Kaiser on the Stanford 27-yard line. Now it's 3rd down, 15 yards to go. Brody back to pass, number 12, throws on the run. And it's finally incomplete. That brings up a 4th down for the Indians on the 27-yard line with 15 yards to go. Low pass from center, but the kick has gotten away. Fair catch called for by the Spartans. On the play, however, a penalty against Michigan State, illegal use of the hands, giving the Indians a 1st down on their own 44-yard line. Still Brody at quarterback. Rolling out to the right, decides to keep. Gains only 2 yards up the middle to the Stanford 46. So the down is the 2nd down. 8 yards to go on the Stanford 46. Harrington now in at fullback, number 29. On the fullback delay, it's Harrington up the middle. He finds a big hole, and he goes for 7 yards to the Michigan State 46. But the tackle was made by Carl Perryman of the Spartans. 3rd down, 1 yard to go for a 1st down on the Michigan State 46-yard line. Harrington again with the ball, number 29. Can't find a hole. He's tackled by Gary Lowe for a loss of 1 yard, back to the Michigan State 47. 4th down, 2 yards to go on the State 47-yard line. Handoff goes to Lou Valley, who's in at fullback. He gains 5 yards for a 1st down on the Michigan State 41. 1st and 10. Valley again, number 34 with the ball. And he's going for more yardage before Gary Lowe brings him down on the Michigan State 36-yard line. 5 yards by Valley. Now it's 2nd down. 5 yards to go for the Indians for a 1st down on the Spartan 36. Again, it's Valley, number 34, up the middle. And he's going for a 1st down to the Michigan State 29. Les Rutledge finally hauled him down after a gain of 7 yards. 1st and 10 on the Michigan State 29. Brody at quarterback. Valley again carries. This time he makes only 3 yards to the Michigan State 26. 2nd down. 7 yards to go on the Michigan State 26. Brody with the ball. Pitches out to Camara, number 32. Camara gets some good blocks. He eludes 1 tackle. Crosses the 15. Down to the Michigan State 12, where he's hauled down by Dennis Mendyke and Jim Nowaski. But it's a 1st down for the Indians on the Michigan State 12-yard line. Ball goes to Harrington up the middle. Number 29 gains only 1 yard to the Michigan State 11. 2nd down, 9 yards to go for a 1st down for the Indians. Brody rolling out to the right, decides to run with the ball. And the elusive John Brody goes for a 1st down to the Michigan State 2-yard line. Dennis Mendyke knocking him down on the Michigan State 2. Brody on another quarterback sneak, dives over the center for a Stanford touchdown. The score, Michigan State 32, Stanford 6. Mike Rafferty will attempt a conversion for the Indians. He splits the uprights for another point for the Indians. Now it's Michigan State 32, Stanford 7. The Indians kicking off for the first time this afternoon, and it's Tony Mosich doing the booting. This kick goes down to the 2-yard line where it's taken by Gilbert. Gilbert back to 10, the 15, the 20, across the 25 to the 27-yard line before he swarmed under. But there was a penalty on the play, and the whole thing will have to be done all over. So it's Mosich booting again. And this kick goes down only to the Michigan State 27-yard line, where it's taken by Tony Kaloji. Lodges across the 40 to the Michigan State 43, where he's knocked down by Paul Wigan. Spartans ball, 1st and 10 on their own 43-yard line. Shifting in a single wing to the right. Ball goes to the fullback. He hands off to Wolf on the reverse. And Wolf gains 4 yards up the middle of the line to the 47-yard line. 2nd down, 6 to go for the Spartans on their 47. Again, the single wing to the right. Ball goes back to Gilbert, the fullback. He barrels up the middle for 4 yards to the Stanford 49-yard line. 3rd down, 2 to go for Michigan State on their own 49. The handoff goes to Gilbert this time. He's hit hard by Manukian and driven back to the midfield stripe. But the officials say the forward progress was stopped in the Stanford 47, and it's enough for a 1st down. 1st down for the Spartans on the Indians' 47-yard line. Mosky, number 41, with the ball. Across the 45 to about the 41-yard line. A gain of 6 yards on the play, so it's 2nd and 4 on the Stanford 41-yard line. Ball goes to his left halfback, making good yardage, about 5 yards on the play, enough for a 1st down, but you see the official's flag signifying a penalty, illegal use of the hands against Michigan State. That carries the ball back to the Michigan State 46-yard line, where it's 2nd down and 17. Nowowski fakes a handoff, goes back to pass. And he hits Tony Kaloji on the Stanford 29. Kaloji across the 20 to the Stanford 17. A gain of 37 yards on the play before he's stopped by Gordy Young. 1st and 10 for Michigan State on Stanford's 17-yard line. Handoff goes to Rudy Gadini. Gadini gains only 2 yards to the Stanford 15, bringing up a 2nd down and 8 to go for Michigan State. Spartan shifting from the tee to the single wing to the right. Ball goes to Mendyke, number 38. And he's making 10, 12 yards, 14 yards before he's tackled by McKenna and Gergen on the Stanford 1-yard line. So it's 1st and goal to go for the Spartans on the Indians' 1-yard line. And it's Gilbert up and over for a touchdown. Michigan State now out in front of Stanford by a score of 38-7. Dave Kaiser, who has been doing the kicking off for Michigan State, will attempt this point after touchdown. Panudis has been the kicker in the previous attempts. Kaiser's kick was no good, and the score remains Michigan State 38, Stanford 7. Now it's Kaiser kicking off. McMillan takes the ball on the 13-yard line. He's back to the 20, the 25, to the Stanford 30-yard line. John Matsko making the tackle. Indians ball, 1st and 10 on their own 30. Lewis at quarterback gives to number 27, John Neff, on the pitch out. Neff circling his left end. Gets almost to the 35-yard line. A gain of 4 yards to the 34-yard line. And it's 2nd and 6 on the 34 for the Indians. Pitch out is wild, and the fumble is recovered by Michigan State. But there's a penalty on the play. The Spartans were offside. So the Indians retain the ball. They now have a 2nd down and only 1 yard to go on the Stanford 39. Lewis at quarterback, gives to Neff. Neff up the middle. He gains only a little more than a yard, but that's enough for a 1st down on the Indians' 40-yard line. Lewis, number 14, is the quarterback. Again, it's Neff with the ball. But he stopped for no gain this time at the 40-yard line, bringing up a 2nd down and still 10 yards to go for the Indians for a 1st down. Lewis getting the snap from center. Fakes a handoff to Neff. Rolls out to the right. Can't find anybody to throw to. Fumbles the ball, but out of bounds. And there's a gain of 8 yards on the play to the Stanford 48-yard line. 3rd down, 2 yards to go for a 1st down. Lewis pitches out to Ernie Dorn, number 42. Dorn goes to the Michigan State 49-yard line, just across midfield, a gain of 3 yards, enough for a first down before he's tackled by Don Berger on the 49-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Indians. Lewis back to pass now. He heaves a long one. And it's intercepted by Bill Kai, but Kai fumbles. And Jerry Angove recovers for the Indians on the Michigan State 23. First down on the 23-yard line. Dorn through the middle. He burrows his way for 2 yards to the Michigan State 21. So it's 2nd down, 8 to go for the Indians on the Spartans' 21-yard line. Lewis rolling out to the left, pitches out to Dorn. Dorn gets a good block. He's at the 15, across the 15 to the 14-yard line. A gain of 7 yards by Dorn before Joe Fomenko makes a tackle. Bringing up a 3rd down and only a yard to go for the first down for the Indians on the Michigan State 14. Lewis to Dorn. Dorn charges up the middle for enough for the first down on the Michigan State 12-yard line. First down for the Indians on about the 12-yard line of the Spartans. McMillan at halfback, number 18. He tries the middle of the line. He gains only 2 yards down to, I'll call it the 11-yard line. A little over a yard on the play. And 2nd and 8 on the Michigan State 11. Lewis fakes the handoff, rolls out to his right, looks for a receiver. He throws. And Gurgen makes a sitting down catch just on the goal line and into the end zone for another Stanford touchdown with 25 seconds left in the game. And the score is Michigan State 38, Stanford 13. The Indians coming back here in the dying moments of the ball game. Quarterback Jack Lewis will now attempt the point after touchdown. His kick is good, and it's Michigan State 38, Stanford 14. Only 25 seconds remaining in the ball game. And the Indians, of course, will kick off. Bob Seymour in to do the booting. Attempts an onside kick, and it's recovered by Ernie Dorn for Stanford on the Michigan State 49. A successful onside kick by the Indians. And they have the ball 1st and 10 on the Michigan State 49-yard line with time for perhaps only 1 or 2 more plays. Lewis is at quarterback, going back to throw. And he tries to go for 6 points and a long one. But the pass is too long, and it's intercepted by Don Zisp on the Michigan State 14-yard line as the game ends. And the Michigan State Spartan Rooters happy at the outcome of this contest. The final score, Michigan 38, Stanford 14. And the Michigan State coach had warned before the game that the Spartans were angry after losing that close one to the University of Michigan last Saturday. And the Indians, of course, disconsolate at the outcome. They fought hard and gamely, but today the things just didn't go their way. And the final score was Michigan State 38, Stanford 14 at Macklin Field in East Lansing, Michigan.